So I've got another edition of Halftime Chat, and today we've got special guest, Mr. Kenny Whitehead. It's going to be great talking to him, hearing about his legacy with his brother, his father. They've had massive hits with their 187 and Forget I Was a G. So it's going to be great talking to Kenny and just welcome on to Halftime Chat. Hey Kenny, how you doing?
Good, Nnamdi. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Doing well. It's is that a platinum plaque behind you?
Yeah, I'm not trying to flex. You know what I mean?
It's no, you know what? You know that I think this is the whole show is it must be the music is. There's so many of us who want to get into the industry, or who are in the industry, sign and stuff, but not all of everyone gets success. You know, getting one record release, not to talk of getting a platinum record, and you know, in your case, yes, you had a father who was in the industry, but even others who do doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't guarantee your success. So we're here today to discuss the journey. I mean, just getting let so people get to know you, your journey, and just taking us through the Kenny Whitehead and stuff. But it's always great because my audience is international to say where you're from and where you were born and raised, and we can go from there.
Definitely. And since we're on the subject, that happens to be the original "Ain't No Stopping Us Now" double platinum record.
Okay. Oh, so it's
Original.
not for what you guys. It's not for you and your brother.
Yeah, that's not one of our joints. That is my father's, and it was lost for a while, and it was regained. But that's another story. But we, like it says on the label, Philadelphia International Records. Born and raised basically in Philly, moved around a little bit, Jersey, things like that. And I've been fortunate to spend a lot of time in other places like Brooklyn, raising a daughter there, spending so much time in different California. But Philly is the hometown. Yeah, Philly.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's amazing that it looks as if there's a very rich history of R&B music from Philadelphia. I mean, okay, recently we can talk about Jill Scott and the Roots and that sort of neo soul that came out recently and Jaguar Wright and stuff. But going back, I think Philly had produced quite a lot of R&B artists and did they have their own record label at as you said, Philadelphia International record label?
Yeah, yes, sir. That would be the infamous, the notorious monster hit makers, Gamblin' Huff.
Oh, so they left Motown and went to Philly?
No, they actually never signed with they worked with Motown, but they never signed. I don't think they signed with Motown. They started their own thing in Philly, and
Okay.
they were offered, maybe that's the rumor, that they were offered to join Motown from but they kind of saw their own way and they respected it. But that's their story. But I am of that. So was my father. That's the first. Well, so that we have Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff, who was Kenny Gamble is my godfather, who I'm named after. Leon Huff. They were responsible for giving you groups like the OJs, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes,
Yeah.
Teddy Penny from that group, of course McFadden and Whitehead, and a lot the Jones Girls, a list of others, and they had great writers there, a staff of great writers. So they built, that empire to make a lot of classics that when you're like, oh, I didn't know, you know what I mean? I didn't know they
Yeah.
did that. So that was in the 70s. From the early 70s to the late 70s, they had a lot of run. And then in the 80s, we had to audition, of course, and we got turned down once, but my brother and I struck a deal with Gamblin' Huff on their new label. So we were fortunate to definitely follow in my dad's footsteps with that. He didn't walk. He was always supportive. Don't get me wrong. He didn't walk us, and we had the American Idol it just like everybody else.
Yeah, yeah.
But because the first time we got turned down, we weren't ready. So that like you said, we have to all make it on our own steam. some people are like, hey, I'm not even in, I don't even know anybody like that. So it is fortunate. But from there, you know, we did a lot of things, had videos and and things died down a bit between that time, and then boom, you get our other stuff that I'm sure
Yeah.
will.
So, but okay. But before we get there, though, so is it was it in your household then with your dad, growing up with a dad who is into music? What was it like as a kid? Did you know what he was doing and stuff?
I mean, after a while, you start to catch on. They were writing a lot of songs for a lot of people first, like I said. I mean, they were a group, they were a doo-wop group, called the Epsilon. They had a group called Talk of the Town. He and his partner, G McFadden. Uh, both of them, rest in peace. And a few other guys, James Knight and Lloyd Parks, and they had a group called the Talk of the Town. Then they changed it to the Epsilons, and they have a video actually. I'll send it to you once we,
Yeah. Yeah.
with the processes and doing same suits they're wearing now, right? The slim ones with the high waters,
Yeah. Yeah.
the high cut slim suits. So they were into that, like stepping like the temps and doing all that. So they got hired as writers for Gambling Huff, and they wrote for a while, writing for the OJs, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, Teddy Pendergrass, Melba Moore, producing them, writing with the Jacksons when they did their album in Philly. So finally in '79, they got a chance to do their thing because they were just burning up, writing all these hits for everyone else. And I think Ain't No Stopping Us Now was supposed to be maybe on the OJs, and they just happened to just say, hey, we coming out, we ain't not gonna be like little worker elves anymore, and we're gonna
Yeah.
get our hit out there. So that's what they did, and they hit it out they hit it out the park.
I mean, when you think of the industry now, people would say if you can start writing hits, you have ownership and publishing. If you're writing hits and you have ownership and publishing, and you without the work, that's probably more ideal. But did they see it in that way back in those days? Did they know about the business to know, look, we're writing the hits, we're owning our stuff?
Well, of course, people, as time goes on, people learn more, and you don't know as much as you do now, and. But I mean, everyone was learning too, including the CEOs, and everybody was learning. So it's not like everybody. It's like any of them, those people from those neighborhoods, those urban neighborhoods that they all came from.
Yeah.
It's not like they were raised to, but they found out and they got to know. Now, I mean, of course, there's horror stories about people, not handling their business right, and I guess ultimately paying the cost, or having someone, swoop in and take care of your interest for
Yeah.
In other words, and then there's some stories about people who do, just things to people. But yeah, people still have to get to know the business. That's what I would say to everybody. Just get to know the business. Read it again, get used to it. It's not something you're going to read one time and publishing and things like that.
Yeah.
Unless it's like that, unless you're some sort of genius, but it's something you have to get used to, and you'll get, used to it. So, but definitely, people didn't know as much as it's not as accessible too, right? You have to go to a library to get that stuff back then.
Yeah. But the reason I asked is more so when your dad, was writing and performing in those days, and when you and your brother came around, did they talk about, so they that's something, an education to say, if you guys decide to go down this path, these are things you should know?
Man, they hardly talked to us about doing music. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like they weren't teachers of like the scholar type. Like, I have some colleagues of mine who are in the music business, producers. They were like raised in jazz clans, and you know what I mean? Like my Carlos McKinney, very great producer, worked with The Dream, Rihanna, Beyonce. He works, and he's like brother to me. So I really like know his family. He was raised with, you know, a bunch of Thelonious Monk, you know,
Wow.
types, and he still knows how to make a, you know, a relevant record to this time, you know, but he still is a classic of a player, and he was kind of he grew up in that way. I grew up in the school of kind of like watch it. It wasn't any really classical training. It's about people was just vibing and feeling themselves, and they poets and writers and musicians who some of them were trained, but the people that, you know, in my family, like my father, he was never classically trained or anything like that. My mother was a big deal around the house when it came to the music because she was a coloratura soprano opera singer.
Wow.
She wasn't really like, hello, my name's, but she knew her crap.
Yeah.
And rest in peace to my mom, Anita Yvonne Whitehead. She was a big force when it came to teaching us gospel songs and things like that, and making sure we were tight, making sure my brother and I could perform when we really found out we wanted to do it. It wasn't until I was like 7, 8 years old and we were moving, and this guy that was helping us move played the bass. His name is Barry. He's on my Facebook, Barry Thompson. And he heard us in the garage messing around. Mm-hmm. And you know, Ain't No Stopping Us Now was out and all that stuff by then. Well, we just hadn't been like, you know, these are gonna be my child prodigies. Nobody pushed that on us. But we would be in that garage like, you know, I had a little Snoopy piano, a little Peanuts gang piano, and my brother had he had a real drum set though. And Barry just heard us and was like, stop moving for a second, you know, boxes everywhere. And he pulled out his bass because he kept it with him. And he taught us these songs, man. Like one was called The Cost of Living. One was called Life as a Stepping Stone. There were like all these positive, you know, progressive. Yeah. And, you know, coming from, you know, my dad and them guys with those type of songs, they had some pretty good progressive songs too, and it was kind of hip and it was funky too. I like the flavor. We're still leaving the 70s now, like just ushering into the 80s. So we actually sang those songs to get our deal with Gambler Health. We never cut those songs, but they were always some good songs. And I always tell Barry, even on Facebook, that I credit him for inventing the Whitehead Brothers as an organized group.
Wow.
Because we arts and you know what I mean?
Yeah,
yeah.
Real, you know? So when you guys were forming your craft and you were singing, I take it your parents would notice that you could sing, but was it more like enjoy the singing, but you know, I want you to go to college and become a doctor? What was the
Nah, my mother, you know, my dad was on the run a lot, so you know.
Okay.
But we catch up with him, and you know, when we could, he was on the run a lot, but my mother wasn't, you know, she was strict on certain things, but honestly, we were just bad shit crazy in our house. So after a while, you knew somebody was gonna be something because we just entertained the heck out of each other. Like if you wanted to laugh and be on the floor, you'd be like, these are crazy. Like we put on shows for each other. We do, you know, we laugh. You know, we don't tease people. But we had a lot of people that came into our circle, and a lot of people and they were funny too. And we just were just everybody famous. You know what I mean? When you came around us, you was famous too. Not that we were famous, you were famous along with whoever was famous. Because we never looked at ourselves. My mom was a great singer, had some dope songs. She kind of stepped back for my brother and I to kind of work and manage us. But I'm telling you, beautiful lady, great voice, strong voice, and taught us how to sing from that diaphragm, you know.
Okay.
She was really tight on, you know, really singing and she knew her stuff on so many levels, even beyond music. But she was responsible for us being able to, you know, have a command performance. Like if you like, hey, Whitehead Brothers, do something right now. We don't have to scramble. Oh, wait a minute, hold up, John. We'll just bam, bust out. Like it wasn't nothing. You know, my mother had us like that. But no, you know, it's a difference between like, you know, me, I was always, you know, into my toys or doing something. I was playing with Star Wars toys, or trying to make a car or a robot. But when it came to music, it was something I could be like, you know, I didn't have to be shy or an introvert, you know what I mean? Like that, you know, because my brother was always crafty into everything, you know, doing talent. See, that's another. Asked that question. He said, when did, not to cut you up, you said, when did people? So my brother started getting into talent shows and crap.
Okay.
We used to do talent shows acting. We used to do Bill Cosby and Sidney Poitier Uptown Saturday Night, like the bar scene.
Yeah.
So we were like when doing that too, like when talent shows. So yeah.
What's the age difference between the two of you?
My brother has me about 3 years.
Okay, so he's older 3 years. Okay, so the idea of the when you were doing the talent shows, the idea of actually being a duo, at that point in time with them. I mean, I know your dad was in a sort of duo, but around what year was it when you decided that, you know, maybe we can come together, you know, your brother and yourself, and make something happen?
You know, my father unfortunately was incarcerated for tax evasions and you know, we were already kind of we weren't living in a mansion anywhere even before that. Even when my father's record out, we were in like a row home, you know, 3-story row home. It was a nice house. We had it hooked up nice, but it was right there, accessible to the hood in Philly, you know? So when, you know, when we realized like, I think it was just that separation of, like, man, he's you know, it wasn't like he was there before that, but still him leaving, that put a lot of pressure on my mom to earn, you know, and in a sense that kind of saved the family too, you know, for us getting a deal, because we didn't save all of our money. We paid rent with our money and things like that, you know. So we were always like little men. We didn't like, we never were like, you know, I can't go buy no sneakers with my money, or I can't do this, that, you know, we have to pay our rent with our deal money. But I felt proud of that, you know. So to my brother. And so we have a sister, Dawn, in between us too. And I have through my father, I have some brothers and sisters, and they're amazing. We all know each other.
Okay, but generally it was yourself and your sister and your brother that grew up in the household.
Yeah, my father's marriage, you know, my dad only, you know, he was married. They married early, like when they were kids.
Yeah. Well, you were musicians, huh?
Yeah, man, they knew it. Well, you know, when they were interviewing, and my mother was she went to Settlement Music School, and when she graduated, they said, "Well, what are you going to do, man?" She said, "I'm going to marry John Whitehead." They already knew that already, and my mother. Well, we had a place in Philadelphia called the Uptown Theater, so that was like the Apollo of Philly. So, you know, my mom used to go in there because she was cool with Harold Melvin, and he was kind of an OG and would look out for her. And, you know, so she met my father there, I believe. And from there, it was just like, you know, love at first sight, you know, like they were like, you know, but, you know, he was, my dad was, he was on the go, man. My dad had a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Great. You wouldn't expect that type of pen or his penmanship to come from him, because he's just always, he chills. He used to chill, but he was always like on the move. Like my dad couldn't say. Yeah, God, you know, if he hadn't have gotten, you know, unfortunately killed, I don't think he was gonna die from old age anytime soon. Because my dad was.
My goodness.
Yeah, he was cool, man.
You know, as you talk about him, I keep hearing the Temptations. Papa was a Rolling Stone. It comes to mind.
Yeah, and everybody loved him. Nobody resented. It wasn't that type of thing where it's like you wasn't there for us. Like,
yeah,
you knew my dad, even being one of his children. you knew him, or his wife's like my mom, or, you know, any of his love interests through his life, you knew him.
Yeah.
Not saying like he could do whatever he wants and this and that, but you knew him. And you know what? We still all enjoyed the time that we had. You couldn't pass up that chance to be around him. You know, same thing as my mother, they or my big brother. They was like, you know, they were all, it's like a parade, you know?
Yeah.
They were all, and I don't mean always loud or talk, but it was just something always interesting about being around them. And, you know, I enjoyed the time I had with all three of them, you know, on this earth. And, you know, we all have our time.
Yeah.
So I'm honoring their name until I join them in
yeah. Anyway, not anytime soon. But
yes,
yeah,
like not today.
Yeah, not today. 80s.
Well,
So around eight, you said you auditioned for the Philadelphia record. Is it International Record Company, or what was it?
Philadelphia International Records. You have it.
Yeah. Was it around? Was it the mid 80s or so that you guys did that?
Yeah, early 80s, close to the mid, but mid 82, 83. And then the record came out, maybe, you know, we worked it like 84, 83, 84, kind of almost like our same pattern a decade later.
Yeah. But then how old were you guys then when you signed?
Oh man, I'm gonna tell my age now. I mean, no.
How most of us can't do math.
Oh God, okay. No, we were young though. We were really young. We weren't even. I wasn't even into my teens really yet. You know what I mean? So, and my brother was just getting into his teens. So, yeah. So we were basically kind of young, and we did Soul Train, like I said, on TV. We had some #1 spots like in Houston, with the song we had Styling and Profiling. It got some pretty good, you know, chart positions and radio spots, man. So we did pretty good. We got a good taste of being, you know, people liking our stuff. So we appreciate.
But were you around the age of New Edition? Because you know they came out in that mid 80s. Were you that kind of age?
Me, I think they were a little older than me. They might be more my brother's age, or a few years older. You know what I mean? But I think they were a little older than all of New Edition. I don't think it's my age. Because when I was like 11 or 12, them dudes was already in their teens, you know?
Okay. So
kind of what?
So they signed you guys as
that old, but
yeah.
I just remember really young listening to them like 11 and crap and 10 and you know what I mean? Not really, you know, what age do you come like that age of understanding? Like after about 6 or 7, you start to get hip to what's really going on. 6, 7, 8. I only had like a few years and they were out kicking ass with Candy Girl.
Yeah.
You know, Candy Girl kicks ass.
Yeah,
I love that song.
So they signed you guys as like as a brother, two brothers, but as kids and stuff.
Yeah. You had to get a legal guardian and the whole.
Okay.
The whole.
So the album comes out. It does its thing. What happens next after the album?
We start working it. You know, you got to work that album. So we start traveling, doing a tour. So it was a merger with Capital EMI, Manhattan Records, and Philadelphia International. So it was a merger. We had Bernard Wright was signed there. Remember that? Who Do You Love? Are You For Sure?
Mm-hmm.
Big Gavin Christopher. Wow. You know, he was out on there. Shirley, you know, couple throwbacks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jones from the Jones Girl had a solo project. The OJs even had something new. So we were just a little young whippersnappers, but we got a chance to. Well, let me go back just a step. We had a chance to work with some great people on that album. Larry Davis from the group Instant Funk. Bunny Sigler, who was a solo artist. He just passed not too long ago, a few years ago. But Bunny Sigler wrote our first single. Bunny Sigler did Let the Good Times Roll. Come on, baby, let the good times roll. Like Bunny's been making hits since then. Songs for Patti LaBelle, you know, a lot of stuff. So Bunny was always a special dude in the Philly scene, you know. Reggie Griffin, who was from either he was from you know, Minnesota. I keep forgetting where he exactly from, but he's not from, or New York maybe. But I gotta check Reggie's background again. But Reggie Griffin was a genius. He did The Message, Grandmaster Flash, Scorpio. Wow. He did a bunch of stuff for that whole clique. And then we had the guy that mixed it, Shamik the mix it. So it was a crew from up New York that we got with on the album too. Reggie produced Babyface, The Deal, and he used to produce them. Reggie, I don't know where Reggie, he was born the same day as my mother. I haven't spoken to Reggie in so long, but he's one of those quiet, unsung heroes who play every instrument you want to throw at him. Trumpets, guitars, bass. It's amazing to be around. And so we wrote on the album, of course, and had a chance to do some things on that album. So we had to work it. Like I said, guys like Mike Austin and Virgil Thompson, Virgil Thomas on the road, worked our record to #1 on the radio and things like that. Styling Profile. Houston, Styling was #1 on the radio. So if somebody was around in the 80s in Houston, they know that song, you know. And in Dallas, we got pretty good over there too. And then in LA, and I mean, you know, it worked around, but Texas really gravitated towards it. But we worked it, went on Soul Train. You know, somebody's got I'm trying to find that one because we had Tuxedo on with the tail. And you don't want to hear something really interesting, brother. Rest in peace to Don Cornelius, man. You know, greatest platform ever for Black music.
Yeah.
And beyond Black music. You know, Soul Train was definitely the hippest trip. But the day we did Soul Train was in the 80s. You know, you sit there, you don't know if you're really going on. I know when some people do a show, they like, oh man, I know I'm going on first. I know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think you go on when Don say you're going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we were in the waiting room and Don Cornelius comes in, sees my mother. She's in a pretty floral dress and we're sitting there with tuxedos on. She's like, well, who are you? Like, who are y'all? Like, and she's like, well, you know, we're the Whiteheads. We from, he's like, huh, oh, y'all made your bones on this show. You know, we did the theme for Soul Train. TSOP did the theme at one point. Teddy Pendergrass blew up from Soul Train when he did I Miss You. You know, when he did the end of it. Oh, you know, miss you, miss. He went nuts though. He went nuts on Soul Train. And so Don is like Philly too. Like, you know, he ain't from Philly, but he's like, we grew up on his show, the whole Philly sound. So he was like, well, we would try. He didn't really know what we can do. But he put us on and we did our thing. We did Styling. We did I Jumped Out My Skin. We did Styling. We did 2 songs. So we came back to interview us. Don was just coming out of the hospital for brain surgery.
Wow.
And that was his first day back. So everyone there were walking on pins and needles. You know, it was like, shh, Don's, don't say anything. Don's back. You know what I mean? Don't make a peep. So he came in and spoke to my mother. And then, you know, because we were like, we knew about it too. So we were being cool. But he came and engaged us. And then, boom, told us we were going on. We went on with Orange Juice Jones.
Oh, my goodness.
Rain.
In the rain.
Yeah, Rain. Yeah, I was shout out to Orange Juice Jones. That's what I'm at too. We were on the show with him the first time. And we did our thing. So when Don did our interview, you know, he said, so has anybody ever compared y'all to New Edition? You know what I mean?
I did.
He had a little bubblegummy sounding song that Reggie Griffin, a genius of, done, like I said, The Message, Grandmaster Flash, I Feel For You, Shaka Khan, or he might have even did keyboard work on Ain't Nobody Love. I don't know where Reggie's, but Reggie did our little bubblegum New Edition thing, and it did sound candy girlish. You know what I mean? You had to go through. But I was like, nah, because we're all like young artists in the business and this and that. You know what I mean? I didn't really like, say yeah, but like I was like, we're all young. And then Dom was like, well, I heard y'all could rap. We said, what? Because, we rap too, so anytime I heard y'all could rap. So we said, well, he said, go ahead, y'all can't rap. I said, what? He said, we, me and my brother bust out to all your fly girls with a Whitehead brother, Studios K, MCJ, sneaking Nnamdi, yo, covers WHITTHEAD, kicking it live for the ladies to see. We're not Batman and Robin or Cheech and Chong, but we knock the ladies out just singing the song. We spit. And right around in that very moment, Don from his operation, brain aneurysm operation, stomped back so loud and hard on that stage with a dance that he just stomped like boom, boom, and he was moving back as he stomped. If I could get that on TV, like, and people they went off, because Don, it's a big thing about Don dancing, right, on that show.
Yeah.
He only line danced like one time. And everybody's like, Don don't dance, Don doesn't dance, or Don don't dance no more. But Don was back from that brain operation and bust a move on stage with us. I was like, listen, I know people have sold a zillion records, but I'm going to put myself and my brother down for the most fun interview on Soul Train with Don Cornelius, because that was special, to have him break out that type of energy when he was just walking around like, recovering.
Yeah. I mean, with his big baritone voice, were you guys not intimidated?
Don was big too, man.
Yeah. Were you not intimidated by him talking and his voice? Because he just sounds like like an earthquake or so when he talks. Yeah, can you come in? Yes. Oh, how was?
And he's so smooth. It's like it seems like taking a piss, like he's jumping on your shit, like a little bit, like, so y'all rap, y'all really rap. But Don was so smooth. And the other two times we were on Soul Train, he wasn't there. They had other hosts, but we got a chance to. I mean, if you was gonna say, no offense to Arsenio Hall, but if you was gonna tell me, would you rather had a call Arsenio Hall or Soul Train with Don on it? I got
but we do. I look back and seeing, I think Soul Train was in a class of its own. It's what it did for rhythm and blues, soul music. But then Arsenio did another thing and a different, not Soul Train level, but he did something, night audience and stuff there, and in a different way. But to actually be on Soul Train is not an easy thing. We all watch Soul Train, so you actually are on it once, twice, three times. So that's a big thing. What did your dad think when did he ever see you guys on Soul Train? What did he think?
Man, he loved it. Our dad was always he was always a big supporter of us, man. He thought like he and my mom, I like I said, it wasn't like no training thing and this and that. Now my dad bought me a guitar when I was about 6, and I was playing rubbish on that thing. Pop the strings. It was There's no way in the world, man. I know they used to call me down to the living room to play when I had an amplifier and all that jazz. Play the guitar. They must have really loved me. I'm telling you. I was playing like stir-fried crap, but it wasn't until about like my stepfather, when I met my stepfather around like 7. My mom never remarried, but my stepfather was just with us for but but he played guitar. He didn't teach me either, but he could show me things or give me some tips and tricks. Like I didn't have to take a class with him, but he showed me my first chord, a major chord, and yeah, I'll play for you right now.
Okay.
So it's our first chord. It's probably out of tune. Hold on, let me see. And this guitar was from a friend of mine by the name of Charlize Rookwood. It was dedicated to a special friend. All right, so wait. So that's a major chord. So like a happy chord, right? It's a little out of tune, and I got my pick stuck in here. But yeah, you know what I'm saying. So if you can see that chord,
yeah, I can see, yeah.
So we're going down the scale, like you're putting two fingers. You know what I mean? Do you play an instrument?
And no, my kids do, but no, not me.
Yeah, well, you don't have to. And you know what? Because it's just as important. You know, when you're talking about growing up in a family household of musicians, I also grew up in a family of music appreciators. You know, appreciators of music. We loved other people's music. We weren't just in there trying to just make our own music. We love music just like your house. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Must have, because you're the way you're connecting what you're doing. But anyway, I got more serious about playing when I was about 11. About like 12, 11, 12, 13. And I discovered Jimi Hendrix.
Okay.
In his journey to England.
Yeah, yeah.
And all that stuff.
Yeah.
And behind the neck, spreading and all that good stuff. And also the greats on the guitar, Jimmy Page, Eric Clapton, Yngwie Malmsteen, John McLaughlin and the Mahavishnu Orchestra, Al Di Meola. Damn, there's so many people. And of course, my style is basically Jimi Hendrix and George Benson put together.
Wow, okay. So you actually started to perfect your guitar playing.
Try. I worked on it when I could. You know what I mean? And I would fall asleep. I would fall asleep on the John, on the toilet, not with the toilet open, of course, but sitting on the seat part of, with my little tape recorder, trying to practice Jimi Hendrix licks. And then a few other people opened up my perspective about playing. You know what I mean? Like I say, Yngwie Malmsteen, who plays a classic rock shredder thing, classic scales, but they're just shredded like, Eddie Van Halen or somebody, or you know what I mean? So Eddie Van Halen, of course, always inspiration. So that helped me a lot. But then it was always R&B. You know what I mean? There was always R&B because my guitar upbringing was really blues.
Okay.
Right? You know what I mean? It really, well, it's so out of tune, but it's so much what.
Some BB King there.
And speaking of which, man, I just got in touch with his great grandson Charles King, and we're on the Clubhouse app, man. He's a business guy. He's making deals in Africa and doing sorts of things. So, yeah, man, he's keeping the legacy alive with his with the late King, man. So that was that. I mean, but of course, that doesn't sound like nothing that I came out with, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. But then, here you are, you're picking up the guitar, you and your brother, you're singing, you get to be on Soul Train. Did your label, were they looking at the sales of the album and thinking, okay, we need to get them back in the studio, and release another album? Or what was the thinking about how the first album did?
Well, we did. Well, the regime changed. It went from Gerald Busby, Steve McKeever,
and Gerald Busby was it before he went to MCA?
He signed us along with Steve McKeever and Daryl Jones. So that was who's, and then about late 96, 97. Motown switched to New York with the Uptown crew, who you mentioned, Andre Harrell, Jimmy Jenkins, Andrew, Sugar Dice, man, and publishing, James Jackson, all that whole crew, Big Bub, everyone got, so I was able to go through the school of Uptown through Motown and make some records with them.
In what way? So, because I don't want to skip anything. So, what happened? So, after you and your brothers came out with your first album, what exactly did you guys do next?
So, first album we toured, like I said, first 80s. Like I said, we toured, we worked. But that was kind of the end of that chapter. Soul Train, this and that, kind of.
Yeah.
You know, we worked it till we couldn't. We traveled till it kind of, you know, went down the charts a bit, and we just kind of, you know, still doing shows here and there, and still cutting in the studio too. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Not majorly, but me, so I got interested in producing about like maybe 14 years old, you know? Hold on.
Yeah, okay. It's back.
We're having a wild interview here. Wait a minute. Let me plug. And all this time I'm sitting here and I didn't plug up my
That's why I pre-recorded, so that helps.
Nah, it's all good. We can edit. But I was thought I had a lot of juice on my phone, and it seems to want to give me a little. This thing. All right. We're back, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
It's easy in the jack off hour.
Yeah. So I mean, so you after you finished touring and stuff, and you worked it, where do you shift where do you shift yourself, your focus?
Well, then it was just like back in the saddle again. I mean, once you don't have a deal, nobody's like just taking care of you for nothing, you know. So at about maybe 15, 16, 17 years old, I started, you know, a barber messed my hair up one time, and then I kind of fixed it. And so I discovered that I cut hair a little bit on myself, and then people gave me a little chance to do that. And then all of a sudden, an OG of mine knew a guy, a slick dude who had a shop. And at 17 years old, I got a real job as a barber.
Wow.
Go figure. No license. I was in there cutting. Next thing you know, I'm cutting for real, razors, everything, and doing the whole nine. So here's a factoid. Jay Step, my brother was named Jay Step because of the way he walked. You can just notice him for a while. He like, you know, he just walks like Mr. Bentley on George Jefferson. Good evening, Mr. J. Like he has that little bounce when he walks. My name as producer, you know, people call me Bermuda now, you know, because that was the late 90s. Someone named me that. But in the 90s, before the Motown album in 94, my name, I used that name, Ken Spin, as you hear on the album, prominently featured, because that was my barber name. Like, because I got good and fast. So I was known to, you know, I'll put the clippers to your head and just spin you. And you done. It wouldn't have been cool if the cut wasn't good, though.
Yeah.
So I give you the same joint. You could pick it out. You could do whatever. Your shape up ain't gonna fade. Like, how you give me a cut just as good as anybody else that cut that last? That's fast, you know. So I was always fast. So I use that name in production. But I was cutting hair for a while. My brother was doing little things. I still was cooking in the lab, though. You know, I still was making joints. So one day, a OG of mine and a youngster of my dad's named McKinley Horton, who came up under Harold Melvin. He was younger than them, though. He went on to he didn't make his name in Philly International. He made it around them, but not in that system. So Harold Melvin basically raised him, and so did my dad. But he didn't make his hits there. So he went along to get some other stuff cracking and made Dreaming for Vanessa Williams.
Oh, okay.
Gotta Get You Home With Me Tonight from Eugene Wilder. another big hit that Blackstreet brought back, of course. So his name is McKinley Horton, and I was cutting hair one day, and he called me up, and he was like, you know, you want to do a showcase for Motown? And I'm like, yeah. And right now I'm about like almost 20, maybe 20, no, almost 20. So I was cutting hair from when I was about 17 to almost 19. Like my barber career was very short, but I was making a lot of money, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
did he know you could sing? That he knew you.
Yeah, he used to take us to the. Well, he grew up. My dad basically raised him. So but he used to scoop us up and take us to the studio. So we had a couple songs together, but they never came out. So he tried to scoop up, but he just died off for a few years. And then he just popped up and called me. It's not like we had demos. He just asked me that I want to, like, was I ready? Like, if I hadn't had any joints ready or was in tip top shape to go, it would have been like, nah, man, I'm cutting hair, man. I'm chilly, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm comfortable, man. You know what I mean? But I was still get ready to turn 20, in my little Ken Spin prime. So I didn't have to second guess it. I was like I was waiting in prison, waiting to get out. Like, but it wasn't like I was trying. I just had the ammo. So when he called me, I already had demos. I went up to the Army Navy store, got my brother and I some. So I had a little bread. I told you I was cutting hair. I was making some dough. So I went and got us like Desert Storm gear, the sand army gear, some dope Timbs, the nice reddish brown Timbs with the green suede around it. They were some good ones too, man. and got all that. Told my brother. He was like, "What up?" I had some demos. They didn't even make the album actually. So they brought us to California in this kind of what would you call it, a audition studio type of thing, or wherever it was, a little sound stage thing. So they was like, go in that door right there. It's like those one of those doors with the bar across, the industrial little bar. You push it in, the exit sign on top. I don't know what they expect on the other side of the door. They weren't like, you're going to perform at a show. I didn't get a chance to see the venue. It's a showcase. People are going to be there. So they like, that door over there. I'm like, that door over there? And they like, yeah, I walked over. I just kicked it, like kicked the bar and just, so the first thing they saw was my foot come through the door. Like, what they say, kicking in doors, right? Kicking doors.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have nothing to lose, man. You know what I mean? Neither did my brother. We weren't looking like we were entitled to anything. We just was like, bam, kicked in the door, walked in. It was Gerald Busby. No, was Gerald there? I don't know. Steve McKeever, though, his right-hand man, vice president. Darryl Jones, who wound up, our A&R, who wound up signing us. Darryl Jones, huge, Darryl. But Darryl was just starting off. Then Robin, I think, our video coordinator in the whole company, and maybe a few people walking around doing some. It wasn't anybody large, like it wasn't a large. I don't mean that way. It wasn't a large crowd in numbers. It was just 5 people sitting in the chair like this, very like that. Very kind of intimidating. You know what I mean? Because you could feed off of a crowd.
Yeah.
You get all down low. Ooh, we had the girls go. I didn't really, I wasn't really into that per se, but whatever, whatever it takes. We want to interact with the crowd. I'm going to try and ham it up. Everybody knows our style. Like, we don't go too crazy with the hamming it up. We do a thing here. But it wasn't nobody to feed off of. It was just them, like,
what you got.
Sitting in the chairs. We did the joint. I really, really honestly, bro, I didn't think we did bad, but I didn't think we was going to get a deal.
But what did you perform?
A couple demos I had. One song called Just a Taste of Love, and one song called I Heard You Had It Going On Without Me. That wasn't in the title, but that was how it went. I heard you had it going on without me. It's like, it was a song I wrote about some chick who, got some other dude or whatever. And then Just a Touch of Love, kind of like a little, little sexy song, kind of like a 187-ish, but sexy kind of song. And, I think so. It was cool. it was cool, but I know we had to cut some more jams. You know what I mean? So I got on some other.
So at this time, then, based on how you were dressed and looked, did they think, okay, because Uptown was doing something with MCA was doing stuff with Uptown, and Motown really didn't have that sound. So did they think the image kind of said, okay, we've got something here?
I think, well, Daryl was from Trenton, so he's an East Coast dude. And I know that the people that there were from out the West Coast, basically kind of, maybe it was a breath of fresh air too, because I mean you can get what you're gonna get out there all the time, you know, but we kind of came from a different place and gave them something different. Plus, you know, we kind of have a little West Coast flavor to us at that time too. Even when we signed, it was kind of like that. You know, we're always listening to Quincy Jones and Heat Wave and everybody that recorded over, you know.
So what was it like then when they said, look, we're going to offer you a deal? How did you, your mom, your brother, how did you guys take it?
You know, on one hand, I wasn't like, I didn't feel entitled to it. And then on the other hand, I kind of was like, okay, you know what? I don't, and I just got some good news like yesterday. It was very dope news, man. And I kind of was like chilling, or like I remember getting my first car, ripping the plastic off my first, you know, BMW. And I remember driving off the lot like, he just like, you know, put the top down, let out a scream, man. You know what I mean? You can enjoy it. But you know what? I'm always thinking of the work that has to be done with those accomplishments. Or what's next, you know? So I kind of, I did feel like, oh shit, wow, this is cool. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, all right, this is cool. This is cool. Like, what's up? And then, you know, now you're on a little schedule. And I knew how I felt from the first time a little bit. So we were familiar, my brother and I, about what it took. But I definitely was kind of cool to live again in that way because I wasn't looking for it. You know, I was because it's cutting hair, but something in the back of my mind always made me cut records. So I was ready. So that's everybody. If you don't have to get ready, if you stay ready, right?
Yeah. Did you guys? Because you mentioned your mom was managing you. Was she still managing at this point, or who did you get to different?
She had a piece. She had a piece, and we had another manager too. You know, and she would share in the management with my manager at that time.
And
so we kept.
And what about contracts? I mean, so you've been signed at an earlier age, so you might have had a bit more of an understanding of how much you're getting, points and royalties and all that stuff.
Yeah, I was doing more, so of course I had to be more savvy. But you know, still had a lot to learn. You know, compared to what I know now. You know what I mean? So. You know, I still had a lot to learn. You know what? Because I was just basically a studio rat, and I would read my stuff here, you know, and try to understand it. But I still was basically like, I got to be in here making it, and I'm not. I don't. When I'm cutting, it's not too many things that could pull me away from work because I feel like, you know, that's it. But I took the time to check things out. Some things I was like, missed that, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that one. But you see it when you get older, you find out.
Yeah. So you're working on the album. So how does the songs that make the album? What's the process with that, especially with
Well, we had a very, very, very tough A&R guy who I mentioned, Daryl Jones. You know, who's also, you know, signed recent artists. But Daryl was very tough, man. Daryl was just very tough. And I had to audition my songs like everyone else. It wasn't like I had the full creative control. Now go make your album. You know, I didn't come on as a producer like that. I came on as an artist, even though I produced the material. You know, everybody always made us prove ourselves, man. You know what I mean? And it was
cool. Did they know
that
you could produce, or did they know you guys could write and produce?
And yeah, but it was like, let's hear the hits. You know, because now that we have a deal, we're in competition, not in that way, but now our songs have to match up to producers' that are getting budgets.
Yeah.
So they've been proven to make hits. They've been out there making hits. We had a lot of help on our first album with a lot of hit makers, but it wasn't nothing I produced. Like, we write on the album. I knew how to produce then, but I never had done anything that came out. You know, I was pretty cool when I was 14. I could make a jam. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
So
could make a jam.
but on your Motown album, how much production did you get to do?
A lot, a lot. Well, songs maybe what 13 albums, maybe 13 songs and interludes and stuff. So I'll just say, Mike Salisbury from Portrait, the group Portrait, of course. Yeah. Here we go again, baby. Mike Salisbury, we did a song. I wanted to do Steve Arrington, Over. See, we were funny. Like, I picked the song to do Over, and then we just picked him as a producer to do it. So we didn't never have that thing like, I must produce all of the song. Like, I never did the Prince joint. Like, shout out to Prince. I mean, he deserves to produce everybody's album. He deserved to produce everybody's album in total. That's how dope Prince is. But I never really was that type of producer. It's like, look at you crazy if you say, can you produce a Whitehead Brothers record, because that's like how I eat and all that. But we were we were admirers of this people's sound. So we wanted to work with a lot of people. So Mike Salisbury with Joyce Tolberg from the Good Girls sang on that record. And his part. Yeah, Joyce, that's my boo right there. And a guy named Roy Dog Pennon, who's very dope, went to Berkeley. He did Shaniqua on the album. Eric Cody and Burt Price did Change. And maybe I might have did the rest. You know what I mean? But yeah, I did the majority. If you were gonna say like if you're gonna keep score, yeah, I probably, did the. But that was only because I was coming up with the material. It wasn't because it was like it wasn't because it was my album.
Yeah.
Because Forget I Was a G came kind of later, and then we wound up putting that on Jason's lyric too.
Okay. And then what about 187? What inspired you what was the inspiration around that?
Yeah, that was the first single off the album Serious. Your Love Is a 187. In total, in its entirety, Your Love Is a 187. And my OG, who worked down the street at a record store, who knows everybody too. He was involved with Pink being discovered and a whole lot of stuff. But he was just back in working a record store, a little older than me. We just were always in touch. He would always just tell me about R. Kelly and all this stuff. And we'd be in the, all these people. We admire music. He spun records in the record store to show you how to get records. So we got pretty close, and I come down the street and all the time and just kick it with him. By the time, in that time, I got my deal, and he had some, my brother and I, I was on the ad from him, but my brother still knew him too. So he had some songs, So he had the hook, the concept, Your Love Is a 187, Taking Me to Heaven. It was different. So we wound up getting the concept in on, the album. It was dope, and then I wound up producing it kind of all together the way we all wanted to do it. And it didn't get selected. My A&R guy, who I told you was tough, was like, sounds like it needs to be produced and all this and that. So I kind of was like, oh. So I told my boy, I'm like, look, the hook is the hook, when we worked on the hook, but I got to strip this joint down. So I've been going back and forth to California, you know what I mean, with a little West Coast influence and the, as you hear on the record, a little West Coast influence with the Dr. Dre moods and Roy Dogg, who I mentioned earlier, had a song called Doggy Style. The song came out, but not the way it is the way I heard it. We were going to cut the song, but some partners of his that he had sent, and it's funny, I just talked about Mike Salve. They sent their wife to talk to us at the studio and told us we couldn't cut Doggy Style because Roy was starting to cut all the songs on us that they did together, and they're broken up now, and they want to cut some songs too and get a budget, you know. So I don't know what was going on, but I was pissed. I mean, she came in peace, and we weren't even in LA. She came somewhere in the burbs and found us, and that was kind of creepy.
Yeah.
But she didn't bring no dudes in there, no rah-rah, you know, they probably outside, but she just came in there and she was like, you know, she said she loved our group, but, you know, she didn't threaten us, and she just told us the situation. It was like, no, we can't do it. We could have took it as a threat to my man. We could have took it as a threat to us, but she didn't make any threats. And I said it ain't worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I like the song. But that song, basically the kick and the bass is kind of basically 187. When you hear it, it's kind of that style. Because this is like one of my mentors too. So I flipped his style to give it that beat and kick. 187 is comprised of a lot of elements. When you get to the guitar, you might feel a Daryl Pearson thing from Devontae's guy, Daryl Pearson, you know what I mean? Or you might hear a backward snare that might remind you of Devontae, you know, or you know, different little elements, and then a move sound that remind you of Drake. But nobody has gunshots in their song like that in a love song.
Well, yeah, I mean, but what about keeping Snoop's parts in it though? Yeah, because
Snoop is down as a writer, and so is Dre, because I sampled their voice, so I had to put them down as writers, which is cool because I'm, you know, me and Dre are cool, and you know, Dre's a cool dude. Snoop is cool. I never met.
Did the label not say, "Wow, you know, if you put them down, you know, more people are getting a piece of the pie if it does well"?
Y'all always had good politics, you know, and they left those things up to me because that was good politics, you know, being associated with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, you know, having my name next to theirs on a record that says written by Calvin Brodus and Andre Young and Kenny Whitehead and Earl Johnson, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, see, okay. You know, we got to know how to bargain those chips too a bit, because immediate money isn't always everything. Is, you know, planting seeds.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a big thing too. So.
Did you guys all think, well, this is going to be a big hit when it was finished?
I knew it would get some attention. If not for the lyrics itself, "Your Love Is a 187, taking me to heaven," and then the verses. Like I said, I had to rewrite the verses, do everything again, and strip the song down because I wanted it to be that potent, you know, when it came out, and have that effect that it has, and be gangster like it is. Like I changed the song wasn't gangster like that before. It was kind of washy and more subtle, and I just was like, because I tried to do it with my, you know, not on my man, but the way his vision went. But I was like, nah, man, this shit got to bite, you know. This got to bite their head off. And then so my man Doggy Style, the way he did that song, Doggy Style, it never came out like that. But that's what, and other people heard that song. Other people who people think that song sounds like, they heard Doggy Style too. So I'm sticking fast. I'm standing fast to, I got the beat and bass line kind of vibe from Doggy Style. And if you want to talk that wild, wild, West Coast, wild, wild, or the Christian, it just sound right. And everything else. So 187 kind of made itself. I just produced it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Played everything, you know what I mean? And you know, I was just a vessel. But it is what it is, you know? It's just a wild animal that I can't control. You know?
Did people think it was a Jodeci record when it came out?
Yeah, that's exactly why I mentioned those elements. So it wasn't a big, I thought, I heard that Jodeci heard Doggy Style. But if you take the guitar, like I said, let's break the elements down. Daryl Pearson, if you look on the Jodeci record, plays the guitar work. Nothing's going to hit the streets unless Devontae says so. You know what I mean? Especially in that time. So I give him credit for everything production coming out on Jodeci. And who is a genius, who I have got a chance to meet and everything after 187. You know, one time on the phone, because we're going to do a project, and then one time when Usher was young and had me come to the Hit Factory, but Devontae was doing his song Whispers, and Daryl Pearson was actually there. So 187 was done by then, but you know, yeah, I didn't mind people saying that because I know that that's not all our music sounds like. So, you know, you're gonna get thrown off if you think like, yo, that's why the Whitehead Brothers sound like 187, because we don't have another song that sounds like 187.
Yeah, but you know, it's funny. 'Cause I bought the album. I was one of those people that bought the album because you had, you know, when you had the 18, yeah, when you had 187, then you had Forget I Was a G, and I was like, okay, you know, one hit's is different, but you have two on it. Let's get the rest of the album. And you were surprised that yes, it didn't. They weren't the similar songs, but yeah, I did have a copy of the album. How did Motown, when you finished it, did they think, yeah, we've got something good, and did they promote it well?
Yeah, well, it's shrouded in mystery, but there was some good. I could say there were some great things that were done, like sending us to Europe 2 times. You know, it worked there. The live tours that we did with Blackstreet and Warren G.
Okay.
And those tours helped build our fan base there. Because I know a lot of people think we just popped out of nowhere and London was like, oh, Whitehead Brothers, I like them. No, we went over there and we actually embraced the people too. And but I'm not saying that we weren't chosen to be liked, but we also put in the work to give back, you know, to let you know the whole UK know that yeah. We want, and we definitely couldn't wait to come back, you know, I said, because London, I mean, Motown saw that our sales went up after our first tour. So, but you know, there were a lot of promotional copies of that record out there. A lot of them.
You know what? I briefly worked in the music industry with at Edmonds Entertainment in North Hollywood. Tracy Edmonds, they had John B, they had a group called Third Story. And I was working in promotions, marketing and promotions. And Def Soul, it was Def Soul who were distributing the group Third Story. We probably had over 10,000 promotional albums. And they were given to journalists. And I couldn't, because my background was business and marketing. And I couldn't for the life of me understand why you would make 10,000 free copies of an album and just give it away, because people at that point, you could burn your CDs, and it's like you were just giving it away. It made no sense as a promotional gimmick as to how the music business was wasting money and stuff. So
I'm sorry if I went off for a second. My daughter trying to. My daughter was trying to FaceTime me. She must didn't know I was.
What was the official sales of your album? Did Motown?
I never really got a number, man. You know, and like I said, Forget I Was a G was on Jason's lyric, the second song on that album, and I don't know what the single did off that. You know, it was a little who's gonna promote the single type thing going on. You know what I mean? But
I mean, Jason's lyric was probably one of the best. I mean, those days we had the best era for soundtracks, and I had the Jason's lyric soundtrack. It was, you know, those days. I mean, that's when you had
Above the
Black
Rim,
Men United. Yeah, Above the
Rim. I was
Rim.
just watching that. We were just talking about Black, because I do a Clubhouse talent show thing with Joe Little from the Rude Boys. Okay. Like you had Joe. Well, you had Joe on your platform. So, you know, Joe was behind with the white hat on, and you could hardly see him. And, and I'm actually gonna do a project like that coming up soon, and I'll keep you posted on that and what song we're gonna do, because it's a well-known song. But we were actually called up. So I believe it was Sam Sack that worked for Mercury. He wanted to Forget I Was a G for that album. You know, I've done a lot of soundtracks too, because I like soundtracks, you know.
Yeah.
But Sam Sapp had wanted that for the album. Now you have to also think, it sounds easy, but the labels have to figure out who's going to do what, right?
Yeah.
And it could be a tug of war or this and that war. It's do we put clips in the video? Do we don't? So it has to be some continuity between the labels. But we still agreed to make that our second single and we still agreed to put it on Jason's lyric soundtrack. Black Men United. I get a call. I don't know if it's from my A&R guy, but they said, hey, they want you guys to be in Black Men United. So I'm like, word? And they like, yeah. I said, that's what's up. I mean, I didn't know the song. I didn't know nothing. You know, all I know is a bunch of artists gonna meet, do like a We Are the World, John.
Yeah.
Up to date. So I'm like, cool. I drive up to New York, a couple hours away. And this is just the truth. It's not like no thing I'm trying to say that, but I'm just telling you my connection with Jason's lyric soundtrack. So drive up a couple hours away, and we sitting in the lobby, I think in the lounge, you know, Brian McKnight's out there, you know, because he helped produce the project.
Yeah.
So Brian McKnight's out there. I didn't know D'Angelo. He was still kind of bubbling under. I don't even know if Brown Sugar was crazy yet, or maybe I gotta remember. You know what I mean? But it was out in that time where he was still he was blown up behind the scenes. Everybody knew he was gonna be big. You know, because people kind of blow up behind the scenes too. You know what I mean? Like us in the industry, we know when somebody's gonna come out and be fired. Plus, the business is gonna push them like that too. So you got a good chance. So we played pool outside of the lounge joint, and for like maybe a couple hours or so, I don't know. And then somebody came out and was like, "Yo, you know, I'm sorry, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Y'all not gonna be on the joint. You know what I'm saying? That's it." And I'm just so I'm like, and then everybody's kind of looking around. Like my manager was there. I think he came up and my brother and everybody's kind of like, whoa, like we just drove all the way up here, waited all the way up here, like totally wasted our time, you know? And somebody else came and told us, like not even I don't know whose decision it was, if it was Brian McKnight's, D'Angelo's, or whoever. I know Brian McKnight was playing pool with us out there chilling. He didn't say, hey, y'all. I don't even know if he told us, but somebody told us. And now my crew, you know, I wasn't with a whole bunch of people, you know what I mean? Because I never really had a role like that, you know. But everybody was kind of willing to get a little like, what? And I was like, shh, you know. That's just, it's all good, you know. I said, it's all good. Let's just beat it. It's all good. Thank y'all, you know. And then but on the soundtrack after Black Men United, Forget I Was a G, we went on the Jason's Leg tour. The song is in the soundtrack at least about 2 or 3 times or so. I don't know, I forget how many, but at least 2. And I felt like they felt like the song was a real good fit for the movie. And I wasn't trying to compare it to like 30 R&B artists, you know what I mean, with a great song like that. But I'm just saying I would have loved to be a part of it. But we still had a chance to be a part and be associated with the movie and the soundtrack, you know. And I mean, they would have put that song up. They would have put "Forget I Was the G" #1 on the album if it weren't like Black Men United. I mean, you gotta put that number. Yeah. But I mean, if it wasn't for that, we definitely would have been first on the whole soundtrack, you know. Yeah. They love that song for there. They put it in there twice, and like I said, so they got the usage from that song. The video had clips in it. We had a version with the video clips that Marty Thompson did and all that, man. So that was cool. Little factoid story how we almost got to be in Black Men United.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and you just never know. But as I said, the song on its own, I mean, I think if I ran a poll and said, which song do you remember? You know, Black Men United, Forget I Was a G, or Black Men United, You Would Know, or Whitehead Brothers, Forget I Was a G. I think most people, I mean, back then it was like a nice celebration, you know, like the We Are the World, but it wasn't, the song itself wasn't as memorable as your song was. But it was a collective, it was a good sort of like, yes, that's nice, especially when they did the performance, I think on Soul Train or something like that. You know, you had some real powerhouses in there. But so the album is is doing well. I mean, you have two big singles, big two top 10 singles and stuff. You're touring. Then we don't see no second album. What goes on?
Well, like I said, the regime changed to New York. Now
Oh,
the
is that
Uptown.
when? Oh, Andre and Jimmy come around.
Yeah, yeah. So Andre Harrell's, rest in peace to him, man. In charge now. We get to do a Glenn G Wiz, brother from Heavy D and the Boys is our A&R now.
Oh, G Wiz.
Yeah, G Wiz, man. It's the brother. That's
speaking to next week. Okay, I'll talk to it.
Oh, for real? Yeah, man. Yeah, that's our brother. So now we got a whole different crew thing. We get with Big Bub. Have you heard Feel Your Pain?
No.
Talk to you, baby. I think it's time for us to go our separate ways. No hard feelings, it wasn't meant to be. Baby, I had to flip on you. You just flipped on me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I really feel your pain. Move on, yeah. Cause there's nothing left to argue about. I've got to move, cause I'm not feeling you yet. When I think of how you did me wrong, I just can't go on with you. Baby, I really feel your pain. Yes, I do, yes, I do. Oh, it's such a got to step and get a move on. You did me wrong. I'm so wrong. Now it's on, baby. It's a shame. You're gonna miss me in the midnight hour. You're gonna need someone to hold you tight, girl.
So yeah, we did a video for Feel Your Pain. We did a song called All Right. So we did two songs, and what do you know? We got back on Soul Train again for the third time. So we got that far with a single. You know what I mean? I think we didn't come back and keep hitting them with singles. We didn't grow up with Andre Harrell's crew. So when we got there, they didn't. We weren't really familiar with them. We had to get to know them. We were just getting to know everybody. You know what I mean? It's about the relationship. They have so many people that they work with, that they made their careers with, that they use. And so, like, when you work with Andre Harrell and that Uptown crew, that MCA Uptown crew, you know, you got to go through Big Bub. You know?
Oh, you kidding me?
Like Usher did, like Mary did, like everybody did, like Jodeci did, like everybody. So we weren't any different. We went through Big Bub. So if you hear the single "I Did Feel Your Pain," you'll hear Big Bub kind of prominently featured as almost like another Whitehead brother, you know, because that's how loud I got him in the background. Let me take this cord out. But that's how loud I have him featured in the background, you know, like another group member, you know.
What was he? Was he like A&R? What was his role in Motown?
Bub was writing and producing, and you know, getting production and stuff. I think G Wiz was A&R. Bub was produced 2 songs on us. Like I said, we dug Bub so much, man. I rose his voice up in the backgrounds for "Feel Your Pain" and "All Right." Like you can hear Bub really loud, you know, because I really dug it. And yeah, we still talk. Bub and I still talk, man. I still love. But you know, I was fortunate to you know what I mean, be able to walk through that school. You know, that whole Uptown school, man. So, but after that, it kind of just like I said, those singles did okay, but you know, they kind of died down. We didn't keep at it, and I think we were already on like, let's just try this out to see if it works kind of thing. I don't think we had the best favorite relationship with them, where it's like whatever happens, you know, said Mary J. Blige don't catch a huge joint, you ain't gonna kick her to the curb. You know what I mean? Because you made on with her. Not comparing our hits and status to her, but it's somebody that they know. So we were just getting to know them, and we tried out what to do. We gave it the old college try, and we did a whole album. It's in the cut. It's not like it's shrouded in mystery, man. Nobody even knows what that album is, man. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know where it is. Could be, you know, archives of Motown. Could be in the sands of Egypt. But people have been asking about it, and I've been, you know, little by little, you investigate your life. It's not like everything was just flat on the table, and I could even call it what it is. I've had to unveil and uncover and peel back onions, and not frazzle anyone, you know, and get them scurrying along. You know, I had to just be patient and let the truth kind of come back. And the more you learn about the business, the more you can learn, you know, what happened to, and not look at, I know that people are sitting there with trip D's and all that, but I don't know a lot of these things because I've always looked, thanks to places like Europe and London and places like that, and in America, I have no feelings but to look at the album as a success, and you know, it's an underground. Who if they didn't promote it, do this or that, or we don't have a platinum, all they did was just make it more valuable and rare.
Yeah,
that's like when I was telling you about dub plates. You know, I do dub plates and stuff for people when it's rare to get one or we haven't been there to do shows. Yeah, you know, as we spoke about, you know, my brother passed away, so we won't be coming back together, and hopefully I can make it over there to do a couple shows and deliver the joints, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we're just, as we're getting towards the end, I mean, so the thing didn't work out to Motown, so did you guys part ways?
Not officially, you know, we weren't officially dropped or anything like that. You know, we never been dropped from a label. I think we just all kind of go our own ways. I think when Andre Harrell first got there, or someone was having a meeting, they were going through artists, and they was like, so-and-so drop, so-and-so, all right, we're going to open up the budget, and so-and-so. This is unfamiliar. You know, you have to roll with the punches. Everybody doesn't know you. It's not like they don't think you're good. It's familiarity. You know what I mean? It's what they know. You don't have a relationship. This business is big about relationships. So they didn't sign us. Andre Harrell didn't sign us. So we were there, you know. And who's to say how familiar he was with our music or whatever that went on when the meeting went down? They were like so and so, and I think somebody said Whitehead Brothers dropped, and the whole meeting in the conference room was like, what? Like, it was like, oh, okay, I guess not dropped, because even though that person making that decision didn't know us, the people in the conference room was like, you crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Whitehead Brothers ain't whack. And that decision was changed immediately. So that's how we got even chance to work with. And if he had dropped us, I wouldn't have took it personally because we didn't know him.
Yeah, yeah.
Didn't know Andre Harrell. You know, we had to develop a relationship, you know, with his crew.
Yeah.
Like Glenn, love as a brother now. Like Bub, as we love as a brother now. The publishing people like James Jackson, all the people that Eddie F and all that, like he kept it, you know, Sugar Dice and Jimmy Jenkins, like you said, all the great people who he kept around him, he kept around, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of those people around for his whole life. And that says a lot about a person, you know, to be able to, your crew from the early 90s and, you know, late 80s, well, you know him, he was in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah.
But taking his crew, Heavy D and all the whole, and ushering them into another era, you know, and making so many hits in just a short amount of time, if you really look at it, you know.
Yeah. So I
mean, doing it for a while, but but go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying then, because here you and your brother now, you've seen the difference, and you sort of part ways and stuff. Do you focus on going into producing and writing, or do you then think, let's be on the road? What?
Yeah, I tried to do both. So I was juggling. I was really spinning all the plates, man, because I was, you know, producing us. Other people wanted songs when they heard our stuff come out, of course. And then, of course, I had to go on the road too. So I was getting and being the artist that sings the leads for the singles, not all of it, because my brother, of course, comes in and does it, but I sang both the verses for 187 Forget I Was a G, only because that's the way my brother wanted it. Actually, I wrote the rap when I was singing it down going freestyle, and I got to the rap. I just said that rap freestyle. I used to hustle on the block, pull out the block, lick some shots, a bumble clock, boom. But that was a freestyle off the top of my head. So when I was done, I told my brother, yo, you got to do that rap over. He's like, what? I ain't doing that over. That joint crazy. I was like, no, you got to do it over. You ain't going to be on a record if you don't do it over. You just going to have a couple of ad-libs. You at least got to do the rap. Plus, he was a great rapper. And could write like freaking Biggie, like to me. So Jay Step was like, all right, I'll do the rap, but I'm not changing it. I'm going to do that rap. And I was like, ghostwrite for the infamous Jay Step, like his raps though. Like, you know, I write songs for him, but I don't write no raps for him. Yeah. My brother rap, like real nice. And that's how he went to do that rap, you know. I wrote it here. So there's so many funny factoids inside of music that people don't. But when Forget I Was a G came out, I like to mess with people's heads anyway. So I knew what people were going to say about 187 with the Jodeci thing, but that's not my story about it. And if you do hear any similarities in it, maybe I did those subtle little things just because why not? Let's just go at it, you know? Why not?
I mean, people, go ahead.
I was going to say, but I knew I would throw them off when Forget I Was a G came out, you know, because same group that did 187, me and my OG, Earl Johnson. And I'm like, well, now who's this sound like? Can you figure that one out? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, producers were generally copying producers. You know, people were copying Teddy's New Jack Swing and making it their own. Others were copying Eddie F's, and so they were. It was the case. I think it was the guitar that was very similar to Freak You, Jodeci's Freak You. Yeah. But you said it's the same guy.
Well, I wouldn't say that. See, like I said, I always played wah-wah guitar. So when I made that decision to go, like, no, by then, like I said, Daryl Pearson's guitar playing, which goes on with Devontae's. But so when I made the decision to go, right? And go, I mean, that's not the chord for Fiend, but it's the same crescendo. 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not? Why should there only be one? I'm not saying was like, yo, let me bite off Jodeci. That's stupid. I told you about how the beat. Oh, I thought Devontae heard my man's beat. Boom, 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 boom. But Doggy Style wasn't out like that the way it was. So I felt like I love Devontae, but I felt like your whole album kind of sounded like my man's style when it came out, minus the guitar stuff.
Mm-hmm.
See, we matching elements. And he had that record, but I thought I told him he was crazy because I never heard about Devontae letting nobody produce Jodeci. I'm not saying, I'm just saying, my man is he went to Berkeley. He ain't no real, messy guy. He just was like, well, they were kind of messy having that girl come to the studio about the song,
Yeah.
But if I could get a demo of that song, and it predates both of our records, Jodeci and Whitehead. Now the guitar playing, like I said, had to put the wah-wah in there somehow. It just sounded good. Boom. There's a lot going on in that record. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of different things. Yeah.
There's a lot going on in that record. There's a bunch of tracks. But that's cool. And I knew what was gonna happen. So I wanted to open up the conversation. Because we ain't singing like Josie. We ain't trying to be like, I wasn't like, baby, I got time to give. I was trying to sing like KC and shit, and cause you be making me scream so loud. I mean, that would be JoJo. We love and everybody, but we always JoJo as a singer. When Cisco, I was in the studio. I had Faith in the studio with me. We was doing something. We had just came in and Philly. Cisco was and Jazz from Drew Hill was there. Cisco was like, "Yo, I studied the song on our Sirius album, Beautiful Black Princess." It was like, "Yo, I used to sing that, study all of the huh and the highs." When I go, "I don't think you hear me though," he says that in the thong song. "I don't think you hear me." I sing that on Beautiful, and actually he asked me to sing it. He pulled out a video camera, and I played electric piano and sang it for him. And then me and Woody would get cool later, and he was like, "Yo, we used to sing that song on dates, man, to get girls at the end of a date, bro."
Wow.
He ain't tell you the whole thing, man. And Faith was with me, and when they left, they played us "Tell Me," they big hit, the first hit they had.
Oh.
Songs, because my man Hawk Islam was hooked up with them. So when they left, me and Faith looked at each other, and we like, "Wow, you thinking what I'm thinking?" She was like, "Yo, he sound like KC, but yo, but we was like, but they could sing."
Yeah.
And they was dope. We knew it was gonna be a hit. I knew Tell Me was gonna be a hit when he played for me. But people don't like to give up where they get stuff from because they always want to look, But I mean, I'll tell you, because it's not biting. I'm 19 years old. Come on, like when the came out when "Gotta Love" came out with somebody saying that sound like Teddy. I gotta love.
Yeah.
Come on. I'm 19 years old. Give me a break. I'm just sitting here cutting hair, man. You know what I mean? But I had to show people like Beautiful Black Princess. If you want to mess with me and think I don't have no styles or no skills, go ahead and listen to what else we do. Look stupid. But I know how to get the controversy out of somebody. So I didn't run from it. I didn't get it from them originally, but I didn't run from it if it formatted into it. But
I mean,
and he loved it.
No, that's good. So I mean, after all this time, I mean, were you and your brothers, before he passed, were you guys touring as the Whitehead Brothers, or did you guys sort of go and do different things?
So I started producing a lot, this and that. Man, I wasn't always the biggest fan of being out there, you know what I mean? So it was a lot. I did a lot. So my brother had to get me while I was, you know what I mean? In the mood.
Yeah. It's
not for me to sit in the studio all day and don't do, perform and don't do all that. I mean, it's cool.
Yeah.
But listen, the people who do it and that's their livelihood and they love the attraction to it.
Mm.
up. Me, I was like I guess if you see me doing a show or me going laying down on the floor, not totally on the floor, but kind of my arm on so into the ladies' room, it's only because not because I'm get these ladies. I'm more or less thinking, who the hell wants to go to a show when nobody gives a show? So I'm like, that's out here. If you ain't, it doesn't mean that you if you don't have that attention, you're gonna die. It's just that if I do a job, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. But then, in the midst of all this, though, so you do your production, your brother's probably on the road. So I mean, we're talking about 96, 97. So good 13. No, is it 13? No, well, that's 23 years. We haven't seen or heard from you in quite a long time. I know that when I interviewed Buddy weeks from Intro, he mentioned you and Horace doing stuff around and stuff. But what is it that you've been doing over the last couple of years?
Well, since we'll go back 15 years. When my father passed away, unfortunately in 2004, I kind of buckled down on the business a lot, and still doing things and producing, but it kind of I kind of dedicated time into his legacy and taking care of some things. And I popped up to get an award in Atlanta. I got on TV with the Eagles before we won the Super Bowl, right in time for the Super Bowl and winning it, because that was the theme, no stopping. I collected an award for him on the Walk of Fame in Philly, and did a few things, and took and taking care of some of a lot of the business that was kind of unattended to. So that's a lot. It took a lot, and it wasn't just that. Of course, I've been making livings and doing other things. I've learned about construction, a lot of stuff, just all the things I wanted to do. But one thing I still did was just cook. Now, getting out there as the Whitehead Brothers, we didn't quite make it before my brother passed, to get out there in Europe back again, because that's all we wanted to do. We wanted to go back to Europe, to London.
Not the States. You didn't. Not.
Well, no. We dig it here. We never toured with a live band here. So, I've done live shows here, but not as the Whitehead Brothers. Not really, except rehearsal. So, I mean, I don't really have anything to prove to America like that. I mean, we're here. I'm always here. They know how to reach me. I feel like a big obligation to the people who lifted us up there, and I've built like an army over there since then. Not saying that America doesn't matter, of course they do, and that's what we built our thing. But we haven't been able to give that appreciation back to the UK and beyond, in Germany, and it's not because I think it's theirs, because I have the family now.
Yeah.
Just like Richard from Grapevine, of course, who linked us up. Rotterdam, and he asked me for video for his thing that it didn't matter if he already had Donnell Jones. I don't care. If you ask me, if somebody supports us, we got to take our time to do it.
Yeah.
When other people are lofty and they want to measure people, all I'm doing is building more of an army and more. So you go ahead and be lofty and think and want to know how many followers or subscribers people are going to listen to your show. And with a dope vibe, you came from some well loved and revered people for me, so I know it could only be successful. Now, just so happens, you're pretty, you're like a hot shot, man, and you got some dope interviews under your belt, and some dope journalism under your belt, man. So big up to that.
Thanks.
I mean, I'm not. You coming with it though?
Yeah, thanks. But so I mean. I guess people would want to know, what I would say maybe 60% of people who watch our shows are based on North America, and they're probably saying, look, it's are there stuff to look out for that you're producing, or back on the road, or what can we look out for?
Well, I had a show booked, unfortunately, in London, And to my American people, like I say, they know I'm here. If somebody wanted, I've done shows, but not as the Whitehead Brothers. If anybody wanted to, hey, yo, we want the Whitehead Brothers to come to a show in Chicago, this place, LA, I'm here. I never was putting myself out there like, please, can I do a show for you? I was asked to do a show in England, my brother and I, So it's not like I'm letting people come to me, but I really not thirsty like that. I never been, even when I was out then. You know what I mean? I never was really thirsty. I just try to give you the dopest stuff I can give you, and don't sweat it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I was waiting for the right opportunity while I was building the network of DJs and people, YouTubers and everything since MySpace. Been building it all over, and particularly, like I said, the stronghold is England. So I think that even for America, I can launch some things from England and show it it just have to do a Jimi Hendrix move, and I can launch. I have a crew there, of businesses there, I have support there and people, and I got people here, and it's all good too. But I want to show them some things in the British pound sterling. I want to show them. You know what I mean? I want to show them some other stuff. I can't show I never tried to be, I guess I was never trying to be that guy in America. Or either like if you say, who's on top in America as a rapper or as a singer, they don't really fit my image anyway. So if people like, I'm not trying to compete with that image. Yeah. Never was, I just have blessed to be amongst some great people in this business that I think that like their image is awesome there, what they do. But I think, with my brand that other people are in too, it's not just me, other people are involved in this brand. It's just a name I made up, but everybody, it's an all-encompassing brand, and it's called Lifestyle Corp. Okay. And our corporation, Lifestyle Corp. And we just, we do a lot of things, and we have a lot of tentacles around, and it's not just, it's beyond entertainment. And it's not just about money. It is about doing your best and feeling your best. Yeah. Health as well. And if you want to look your best, that's cool too. You put your nice frames on. You want to, you know what? That's what's feel good. And
but are you still writing and producing for yourself and for others, or has that changed?
No, just not recently, but in the latest developments, some of my people there, they want to put records out. I have some records there. I played them because I'm always doing stuff. I'm always recording. I got some stuff that I feel like interesting to people and dope. Or if you want to, I got something. If you want to hear where I left off from, you know what I mean? Ken Spin, and then we, damn, oh, that's different. But it's dope. But they want to put records out. Well, one of my partners over there. I want to put records out with other artists too, younger artists, an artist from here, and kind of bring out a production album, more like a Dr. Dre kind of thing, an album like that. Okay. You know what I mean? And is on there with people, because that's always what I love to do, just produce on other people. And so I think that, of course, some solo songs from me, maybe even a pop J step, and make it dope. Just make it like the way we did Serious. We didn't try to follow one sound. We just try to make an album full of dope songs,
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, but most importantly, to press the notification bell so that you can be notified when we do have a new interview. Loads to come. But thanks a lot for watching.
You know.